Hello, and welcome to Churchy Chats with a Church Girl. As usual, I am super excited about tonight's episode. If you've been watching this month, things have been a little bit different. We've been talking about things to help you take on this holiday season. So if you haven't caught up, go back and watch our first two episodes. The first episode was called Festive Finances, and we had a finance guru on telling us how to handle our finances for the holidays. And last week, we had a couple who lost a collective 300 pounds. They were talking to us about how they did it and how to handle the holidays and all the good eats. So make sure you check those out. I'm Alicia Wiley. If this is your first time here, I am the owner and creator of A Church Girl, which is a lifestyle brand and a clothing line that seeks to inspire and uplift everyone we have the privilege of connecting with. Make sure you share this broadcast and be ready to join the conversation. Tonight, we have something super special. It's the holiday cooking episode of Churchy Chats. I'm so excited and a little hungry. So we're going to get right into tonight's show. I have two amazing chefs with me tonight. I have Chef Davina and Chef Shana. How you ladies doing?
Hey.
Good, good.
Good. So, listen, I want you to do a quick intro, and then we're going to get into some holiday tips and questions, and then we're going to move on right to the cooking segment. Davina, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, my name is Davina. I am a self-taught cook, avid reader, writer, pup mom, approaching 30 very, very quickly.
Come on,
And
30.
I love all things red velvet.
Ooh.
That's kind of my thing. So yeah,
Welcome to the show, Davina. I'm so
thank you for
excited to
having
have
me.
you here. Absolutely. Shayna, she has been here a couple times. Y'all know her, but y'all don't know her with her chef hat on. So talk to the people, Shayna.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you, sis, for having me on the show again. I'm really excited to be here with the family. Always good times when we're on the show. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Shana. People call me Shane. I'm a home cook turned private chef out here shaking and shuffling these pots and pans. It's something that I love to do. I established my business, Faith Fair Private Dining Services, in 2017. So we've been in operation for about 3 years, actually almost 4 years now. And we recently just launched a line of spice blends, and I'm really excited to share some tips with you all and to show y'all some of the dishes that I make at the holiday time.
Come on. So we're going to get right into our questions for the night. Just to help people, I don't have the responsibility of, cooking the meal. I'm a helper, I'm a sous chef, but I can understand how it can be stressful. So, ladies, tell us, how can you lessen the stress of holiday cooking? And well, let's start with that. Then we'll go to the second part of the question. How can you make it a little bit easier, a little less stressful?
Davina, you want to go first, or?
I can go first. I think it's helpful to have a plan of
Mm,
what you want to cook, who's cooking what, and kind of the times that you're going to be in the kitchen. So for me, like our family is kind of small and we all can cook. So we kind of have shifts where it's kind of like we're in the kitchen and another person is not. So we're not in each other's way. But
right.
I think like I went to Walmart today to get some groceries and it's already starting to get packed with like the holiday shelves and all of that. So I think if you just kind of don't go into it last minute with a plan, that's helpful. And like I said, have a plan the day of too. So that way it's like you can also enjoy the holiday.
Sure. What when you said the grocery store was starting to get crazy with the holiday stuff, there have been times that my mom and I would go to every store in the city looking for the last thing I can think we went on a hunt for was Martha White cornbread mix. And we literally had to go everywhere. And that alone is stressful because, you're tired after fighting the crowds in the stores. And then you have to go home and cook. Who wants to do that? Right? Nobody. So Shayna, how can we lessen the stress of holiday cooking?
Yeah, I was going to say plan ahead. I mean, I think that's the key thing, right? You want to make sure that you're not boxing yourself in and you're up against this crazy timeline. You're supposed to eat at 4 o'clock or whatever. And, you're still trying to get the whole meal together. So I would definitely say here's a couple of tips. The first one would be to make whatever you can make ahead of time, do it.
Mm,
Start shopping now for what you need for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so that you are not out at the last minute trying to search for ingredients that are popular that are going to be missing off the shelves, especially now with the pandemic. Y'all know
yes.
people are at home baking their own bread, all that kind of stuff. So flours, sweet potatoes, and your sugar and all that stuff is running low. So go out now and get what you need so that you're prepared. And then for, like your side dishes that you can make and freeze, do that.
Mm, yeah, I think that most people wait until like Tuesday before Thanksgiving to start cooking, and there's no way to really have a smooth situation, when you're at the helm like that. But let me ask you all, I know most cooks, most chefs, well, chefs are a little bit different, right? Because, chefs are like, I'll take a sous chef or I'll take, somebody who can help me, but who knows what they're doing, right? So most chefs are like, or cooks, I don't want nobody in the kitchen with me. Can we include our family somehow? Sometimes people want to help. Now, Davina, you have a family that can cook, right? So that's a little bit different. But sometimes we get those people who don't really know how to cook, but they're well meaning, right? They want to help in the kitchen. Do we let our family in the kitchen or does that add to the stress?
Now listen. I'm one of those people that don't like people in the kitchen with me. I'm not gonna lie. But here's what I think that you can do to incorporate your family. I think we all in our family got that auntie, that big mama, that brother, or somebody that has like a signature dish that they
Hmm.
make really well. So maybe work with your family to determine who's gonna make what and ask them to, if you have people that are coming over, or if you live in the same house, like Davina said, plan out who's going to be in the kitchen when, or ask family members that make good dishes to bring in stuff. So that takes some of the load off of you as the
Hmm.
host for having to be responsible for making everything. Because y'all know how we do at Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's a whole
Uh-huh.
entire spread. So that's a way to maybe keep people feeling like they've been included in the process and all of that, but keep them out your kitchen.
Davina, are you in agreement with that? I think we may have lost you, your sound. It's okay, we're gonna get it. So Shayna, let me ask you this. If you have somebody to kind of pop in on you, relatives traveling, um, they came to see you, they
So
just want to spend a little time for the holidays.
I'm
Do
not
you
the
kick the
same.
saints out of the kitchen?
Y'all. So here's the thing. I actually, as much as I cook and as much as I love cooking, I actually at the holiday time, I'm not the main person doing the cooking. Like
Okay.
I might be the person that they ask to make a dish, or to like help out in the kitchen, but I'm not the one that's hosting. So a lot of times I'm just coming in asking what they need help with, and I get my assignment, I go run with my assignment and get done what I'm supposed to get done. But luckily for me, I am not the person that's hosting, so people don't pop up on me, but I have seen people pop up where I am.
Now let me ask you this. I have little ones. Well, no, I let me take that back. I don't have children yet, but I have, godchildren and stuff like that. And sometimes they want to help in the kitchen. How can we allow the children to help without wanting to do this? Because it's precious, but
Yeah.
it drives me crazy sometimes, right?
So that's one of those things that I think you have to plan for. So you can, a great place for kids to help out with making something is dessert, because it's usually pretty easy, doesn't involve a whole lot of actual like stovetop cooking,
Sure.
that type of thing. They could just like mash stuff and whatever. So I would say, get on the good old Pinterest or the good old Yumly or All Recipes or whatever. Check out some of your favorite, Instagram chefs or whatever, and do a little research to see what desserts might be good for kids to help out with, and they can help out with measuring. That helps them reinforce whatever they're learning in math and all that kind of stuff. Help let them pour out the ingredients, and then you can be the person to actually kind of put it together or whatever. And I think that'll be really helpful.
Sure. So Davina, talk to us. How do you feel about people in your kitchen?
As I was saying before, my whole laptop just said, let's restart. It literally restarted. I don't mind it if you're a help, but if you're more like, I want to learn, maybe Thanksgiving and or Christmas and or Easter, because that's a big one for us, is probably not the time. Or you can learn the day before. So helping me like prep, cut things, or being a part of like finishing touches. But I think sometimes when you've got 6 burners going, the oven going, with cooking, a lot of it is kind of timed, and you don't want to burn it. You don't want things overcooked or overdone, things like that. So it's kind of like, hey, why don't you go play Monopoly? Because that's going to take you some time while I finish in here. But as I'm saying, my dad and I were both very stubborn, very, very headstrong. We've been cooking for a long time. And so he likes to come in. He's like, maybe you should do this and maybe you should do that. So we've just kind of agreed that he's going to be in the kitchen at his time and I'll be in the kitchen at mine.
Yeah, my mom, bless her heart, she is the type of person, she's an excellent cook, right? So I might cook something here and there, or like I said, I'm the sous chef, but she's this type. Your fire up too high, ain't it? And I'd be like, Ma, are you gonna let me cook this? Or are we gonna, and she'll slide behind you and, cut the fire down. I'm like, what are you doing? I got this. So yeah, it's all good, but I do understand the dynamic of having your family in the kitchen can be interesting. But um, we have been trying. I think most of us have been trying to eat somewhat better, at least in recent years. But when it comes to the holidays, we want to have everything that's decadent and delicious and savory. But how can we make some of the same dishes, some of those classic mac and cheese and yams, with all the cinnamon and sugar and butter? How can we make these classic dishes a little more healthy, but just as delicious?
Listen.
Or do we say for the holidays, it's the holidays? But what do we do?
That's my rule.
That's your rule?
When I saw the question earlier, I was like, I don't know.
So do you allow yourself, if we kind of watch what we eat through the year and we're conscious, of being healthier, making healthier choices, is the holidays a good time to just kind of enjoy yourself?
I think so. I mean, yeah, when I saw this question, I was like, honey, there is nothing healthy about the Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners that happen around here. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. The only thing I can say I am doing a little bit differently this year is I'm trying to use a little bit less sodium and try to really focus on creating and building flavor with like fresh herbs and things of that nature, or sodium free blends and stuff. But outside of that, your girl is going to use the sugar, the butter, all the things. I want all the calories, all the fat. I want it.
I hear you. I hear you. And now, Davina, did you want to add to that?
All of it. I need it all. I think, if you're going through the holidays and you're thinking diet, if you're thinking healthier lifestyle, I think it might be helpful to like load up on the vegetables. more
Okay.
the yams if they're covered in like butter and sugar and all the deliciousness.
Yes.
But if you kind of fill your plate with like, say, even the collard greens are probably not the healthiest, but
All right.
greens, if you have green beans, or if you know this year you want to be health conscious, kind of bring your own dish.
Mm,
Come, like, you bring the alternative, so that way
sure.
you can load up, say, salad, and then have little bits of the things that you want, kind of in moderation, and then let those who would like to enjoy.
Right. And I think for in New Orleans in the South, well, we're a little bit different because our soul, we don't really have what you call traditional soul food. So if you go to a New Orleans household, you may not get the fried chicken, the yams, the greens. And yes, you'll have some of that, but you're going to have jambalaya and gumbo and etouffee and all those things. We eat everything with rice, right? Not, I've been living in New Orleans now most of my life, but New Orleanians, I'm not that much of a New Orleanian yet. But when I say everything with rice, I'm talking like greens with rice, cabbage with rice. And I don't quite understand that yet, but we're rice people, we're starch people. People will put a scoop of potato salad in their gumbo.
I've heard
That's another thing
I've
that I don't fully understand yet,
heard
although I'm a New Orleanian, but leave it as it may. But for us, I think some of the things that we can do is maybe not so much starch, maybe not so much rice in the gumbo. You know, it's so much delicious food to go around. You really want to enjoy yourself. But for those of us who have issues, health issues that they need to be worried about, I think there are ways that you can cut corners, but still enjoy the holiday meals.
Yeah, I
So,
would
ladies,
go in with
go
rice.
ahead, Shana.
Oh, I was gonna say for the rice thing, you could or really a lot of starches and carbs, you can swap out, like maybe do a wild rice or a brown
Mhm.
rice instead of white rice. Um, but yeah, your girl is still gonna be over here with all the carbs.
Yeah, I hear you. And here's the next thing. So, I'm not really a traditional holiday food person, right? So, I don't eat a lot of the things on the menu. But here's the thing, even if you do enjoy traditional holiday food, what is a good dish that you can introduce for the holidays to change things up a little bit? We eat the same thing year after year, and although it's delicious, and most of us don't eat it year round, right? So we have something to look forward to. But if we're looking to change it up a little bit, what's a good dish to introduce to the family during the holidays?
Um, I love the idea of doing, and we've actually adopted this a little bit in my family. But if you're going to at Thanksgiving do all of the like traditional dishes, then maybe for Christmas have like a themed dinner where you
Oh,
do
that's
like
cool.
Italian or Mexican or Indian or whatever, so that you can change it up. For Thanksgiving, I love the idea of having something like a lasagna, something that's
I love
unexpected,
lasagna.
but it's still decadent and delicious. It feeds a lot of people. You can make it in
Mhm.
a big batch to get it done. Or, yeah, I like the idea of like having some type of theme or something like that.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and that's a great idea. I never really thought of something like that. And I love Italian, so I'm here for that. Davina, what can we do to spice it up, change up the game a little bit?
I like the idea of everybody bringing something that's maybe
Mhm.
not traditionally on the menu. If you've got a larger family coming in, it's just kind of like bring your favorite dish, because that way you can start to introduce other people to it. I think the problem though is that with Thanksgiving dishes, a lot of those dishes like fit well together. So it's like
Mhm.
hard to have turkey and like curry chicken on the side.
Right.
Like, what do I do with this?
Right.
If people could bring it over for leftovers. I went to this one party a couple of years back. It was actually a really dope idea. You brought your leftovers to the party, and so
Okay.
like the abundance of leftovers. And so that way you got to like try everybody's different meals and dishes that they had at their family. So that's kind of a cool thing to do with friends. And then you could probably incorporate that with family as well.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool because actually the next thing I was going to ask you all is how can we avoid cooking so much food and having so many leftovers for my family? My immediate family is small, right? I have a brother and a sister. I have two nephews, one of which is 9 months old, so he's new. But we do have extended family and friends that come over for the holidays, but I don't care if we feel like we're cooking just enough or, you know, in New Orleans we call it lanyap. That's what we call our extra, right? So I'll be like, Mom, only cook, a small amount. And when it's gone, it's gone. But still we end up with so much food. So how do you kind of curtail having so much food left over? Because I can't eat that food for another maybe day. After that, I'm good, you know?
I
So
feel
what do you all suggest on, limiting feeding the 5,000?
For my family, we had to get really like honest. Like there was one
Mhm.
year I was like, listen, we can't even fit it in the fridge. So something that helps with like, I think the biggest thing is like protein. Usually it's like
Mhm.
you have this large turkey and then it's like all this leftovers. And like, what do you do with this? So if you Google appropriate pound turkey for how many people, usually that's
Okay.
pretty accurate. So like if you have 5 people coming, you don't need a 35-pound turkey. You probably only
Right.
need, I think they said about 1.5 pounds per person. So you probably really
Okay.
only need a smaller turkey. And then just like say, getting just brutally honest of like, hey, we don't need 3 trays of macaroni and cheese. We could probably just do by like with one. And I think it
Mhm.
comes from people being well mannered or well intentioned. They're like, people
Sure.
are going to want to take this home. And it's like, absolutely. But if they don't, then we're ending up throwing food away. So we had to
Mhm.
do that within our family.
That's a really good idea. Shayna, what do you suggest? How do we not end up with a huge pile of leftovers?
Yeah, I think this is going to be unpopular, but I think it really starts with reducing your menu.
Mm.
Plain and simple. You don't need to have 5 proteins. You don't need to have 8 sides. You don't need to have 7 desserts. Reduce
Mhm.
the menu. And if you do that, if you can make, it's okay to make kind of a lot of, 2 or 3 things versus having a whole bunch of stuff that you are not going to know what to do. You can't, like Davina said, even fit it in your refrigerator. And then if you reduce your menu and you're only cooking a certain amount of things, it's easier to figure out what to do with the leftovers. Like, with the turkey, you can end up doing, I think one year, my mom and I, we ended up making a turkey gumbo. I
Okay.
have done turkey salad, like a
Mhm.
spin on chicken salad,
Yeah.
things like that. Or you can freeze stuff and use it for, later on for, a good old Sunday dinner or something later on down the line. But I think, I don't know where this whole idea of like you got to have 50 proteins. And like, it's so expensive when you have all those different things. Like, you can save so much money just by, really deciding like, okay, we're going to have maybe 3 proteins or 2 proteins,
Mhm.
a fish, a red meat, and then, a turkey. I'm not like that big on turkey, but
Mhm.
you can, and maybe instead of doing a whole turkey, maybe you just do a turkey breast.
Mhm. Mhm.
Think about different things that you can do. And that I think also plays into what we were saying earlier about planning ahead, because if you plan ahead, then you won't be like at the last. How many? I know I'm not the only person that be like, I don't know what I'm gonna make for dinner. Then I run to the
Mhm.
grocery store and here I am putting everything in the cart because I'm trying to figure it out. Um,
Right.
so if you plan, I think you'll end up better. You won't have all this extra leftover stuff. Last thing I'll say is something that I do when I'm like catering
Mhm.
for people, aside from kind of understanding portions and all of that. I always look at a full pan will feed 50 people and a half pan will feed 25. And that helps me when I'm cooking to kind of portion everything out and know how much I need to make.
But even
Sure.
on the planning note, you can plan for the next holiday. So for instance, if you want, say you want certain things for Thanksgiving, but you're realizing there's very similar things. So like something my family is really bad is we'll have cornbread and cornbread stuffing. We don't need both. So it's kind of like for Thanksgiving, we'll do cornbread stuffing. And then for Christmas, we'll do cornbread. So that way people aren't missing out on their favorites. And because the holidays are so close together, like it's like, okay, you didn't get the fried chicken this one, but we'll do it for the next one. So that way your menu, like I said, is not so large.
Yeah, absolutely. I think spreading those things out and, like you said, choosing which holidays you're going to have this because it's only a month apart, right? And if you're eating Thanksgiving leftovers for a week, then in 3 weeks,
I
you
don't
know,
want it. Yeah.
like it gets old. Like it's something that you want and you look forward to, but after day like three, it's like, okay, on to the next, right? I'm that person who's ordering a pizza the day after Thanksgiving because I just want something else or making a pot of spaghetti or something, just because I want something different. Well, ladies, thank you so much for these tips on holiday cooking. I hope that this has been helpful. I can't wait until get to this next segment. The ladies are about to throw down live right here on Churchy Chats. I'm so excited. The only problem is I don't have no snacks. I don't have nothing to eat. So I'm going to just be here hungry. But we're going to get right into the cooking segments. We have Chef Shana up first. So we're going to go on our commercial break and we'll be right back.
Bowtie Brown Productions presents Listen to My Thoughts with J. Damian Brown on Facebook every Tuesday at 9:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Listen to My Thoughts, a Bowtie Brown production.
All right, Chef Shana, we're going to give you the floor. Tell us what you're cooking, and it's your thing, sis.
All right, can you guys hear me? I had to switch over to my kitchen, so I want to make sure
Yeah,
y'all can
you
hear
all
me.
fancy.
All
Separate
right.
sections and segments.
Listen, I was trying to make sure that I didn't have to stand up the whole time because I have a very small kitchen. So yeah, so I'm gonna do a couple of things. At least my goal is I want to show you all how to do two side dishes for the holidays. So the first one is going to be a chorizo and apple stuffing. And then the second one is going to be some good old Ruth Chris sweet potato casserole. Y'all, I love me some sweet potato casserole from Ruth Chris. And my family's not really a big casserole family. We are more so like, cut us up some chunks of sweet potatoes and all that good stuff. But we're going to try it out because I love the way that Ruth Chris does it. But yeah, so let's get started. A couple of things I want to share, and I'm going to put this down so you guys can see things. So excuse if you come spice blitz. We got to have them. So a couple of things that I want to recommend that you have in your kitchen. I just turned on the heat to my cast iron to a medium high heat. Y'all need a cast iron. If you don't have a cast iron, I don't know what you're doing. Okay. You got to have that. And you need to have a really good non-stick pan, like a good one. Invest in it because it will change the way that you cook, and you'll find that your food comes out so much better. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to hopefully I can stick within my time frame. I'm going to try to, but let me show you all the ingredients that I have. We're going to be working with for this stuffing. So I have some chorizo. I got some butter. We're going to use that. And I believe in NOLA, y'all call this the Trinity, but we got some onions. We got
celery,
red bell pepper, and some celery.
That's the
that
Trinity,
we're going to work with. Okay. I have some fresh parsley, some sage, some fresh sage. We're only going to use a little bit of that because y'all know sage be out here trying to take over the whole palette. And then y'all gonna be surprised, but this is a mix of fresh sourdough bread that I let go a little stale because it helps with the baking process and all that good stuff. But also, your girl threw in here some stovetop.
Hey.
Come
Huh?
on, stovetop.
What you say? We're gonna do some stovetop. And that's just to give it some filler. Stovetop already comes with some seasoning in it, so it helps to add flavor and build flavor. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually just gonna start getting the um the chorizo out of the casing so that we can get it into our pan. And I like for my pan to get really nice and hot. With chorizo, it is very fatty, so it doesn't need a whole lot of oil. We are going to put a little bit in there, but just be mindful that you don't need a whole lot because it's going to produce and release its own oil.
So
But what I'm
explain to us,
go ahead,
Chef
sis.
Shana, for those who are not familiar with chorizo, tell us what it is.
Yeah, so chorizo is kind of like a Mexican style sausage. It has lots of robust flavor, very, very flavorful. I use it with my shrimp and grits because it's so
Mm,
delicious. It has like fennel and it has like kind of a smoky flavor. So it's definitely going to add some depth of flavor to your stuffing. And change it up a little bit, give you something that you a different flavor that's a little different than what you would traditionally find. So I'm going to actually cook this up in my cast iron. Going to hit it with just a little bit of oil because like I said, we don't need a whole lot. Let me grab my handy dandy wooden spoon. Can you all see? Let me bring it a little close.
Now, did you
Sorry
say
for the
an apple?
Yes. So we
Okay.
got a Granny Smith, and that adds just like a little bit of unexpected sweetness,
mm-hmm.
and a little bit of like not a crunch, but it definitely helps to balance out some of the robust flavors that are in here because you got some strong flavors going from the chorizo and from the sage because sage is so powerful. And so the
Mm-hmm.
apple really helps to kind of balance that out.
So a lot of people feel like they can't use like certain box things, but you did say that you were using stovetop. So it's possible for you to grab something that you may not think, a real chef or a real cook would use, but it can be a real good addition to what you're already doing, right? We might not depend on it solely, but it can be something that can spice a little something up.
Can
Yeah,
I?
I like. Go ahead, Davina.
Can I ask what the beef is with Jiffy? Like, why don't people like Jiffy corn mix
Yes.
anymore?
Because they say it's sweet. It's
Oh,
like cake.
I like my
That's what
cornbread sweet.
people
That's why.
say.
I love me some Jiffy. I
I
ain't mad at
My
Jiffy,
grandmother
sis.
loved it.
I
I
saw
am
Jiffy
not mad at it.
Sanders the other day on Twitter, and I was like, "What is happening? Why is this?"
Right. And I think to each his own. Everything doesn't have to be made from scratch. I think,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
us African Americans, we have that power to turn a box around and make it magic,
Turn
you
it
know?
around.
That part.
Turn it for our good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's key too. Like, and anything that you can do in the kitchen to help save you time, why wouldn't you do
Hmm.
it? Like, I'm not mad at a box of Jiffy. Girl, put your little brown sugar or whatever else you want to put into it to make it what it's gonna be, and call it a day.
Absolutely. I agree.
So really quickly, while the chorizo is rendering out and cooking out, I turned on my nonstick pan, and I'm going to throw in some butter, and I'm going to get my Trinity working. I'm just going to saute it up. What that does is it helps to bring
Hmm.
out the flavors from the onion, from the bell pepper, from the celery, and that's what we're going to use. We're going to dump that into the bowl of bread and stovetop so that we can build. We're just building flavor right now. That's what we're doing.
Now, does this take the place of a traditional dressing or stuffing?
For me, it does. Now, my uncle, my uncle makes this bomb, bomb stuffing. It's not traditional at all. It has like apricots in it and apples and
Mm.
all kinds of. But listen, when I tell y'all, it is absolutely delicious. Like people are mad if they miss it or he doesn't make it. It becomes a real problem.
That sounds different.
Now, if this is your first time making something like this and introducing it to the family, then I would say, maybe have that traditional stuffing on standby for the folks that don't want nothing to do with this. But for the bold who are ready to, kind of step out and try something else, give them a little something different, and then this might become the new tradition.
Now, is the chorizo spicy?
It does have a little bit of kick. Now, at my store, you can buy mild, spicy, or regular. So you can kind of choose your poison.
Okay.
Now, is this something that you can find basically in any grocery store?
I've always been able to find it. My cousin actually, because I make a chorizo turkey burger too. And my cousin went out to look for chorizo and had a little bit of trouble, but she ended up finding it at Walmart. So I feel like it's pretty accessible.
Cool.
Davina, are you able to find chorizo in where you are?
Well, I'm in South Florida, so anything Latin inspired, I can find it. 100.
Yeah. New Orleans, not so much, but I'm sure there's a space or a place you can find it. Certain markets or maybe Walmart. I've never purchased it, so I don't know, but I
Would
know
it
that can be an issue.
be a good substitute?
I'm sorry, Davina, you talking to me or Shana?
Either or. I was just saying, would andouille sausage be a good substitute? Because I know you guys have that in New Orleans.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
I think so. That would be delicious. What do you guys normally put in your stuffing?
Very simple over here. We have cornbread, then we toast regular white bread, um, celery. I may be not completely right with this. Like I told you, I'm not the main cook. I'm the sous chef. Onions, and my mom takes the juice off of the chicken and she puts it in that good dressing. And I think that's about it. Davina, what do y'all do with y'all dressing?
It sounds very similar. White toasted bread, cornbread. My dad puts chicken in it, so he does the stuff. That's the dressing. That's his thing. I don't even get in the way. I have to fight every year. I love onions. The battle, like that. Can you put some onions in it for me? You know, somehow or another they end up in there. So onions. He puts a can of mushroom, I think, in there. Stirs it all up, bakes it.
Yeah, and we also do oyster dressing. So, but that's the same. It's just layered with oysters because my dad loves oysters. Okay, Chef Shana, tell us what's going on over there.
All right, so my Trinity is all sauteed up. So I'm dumping that into this bowl with the sourdough bread and the stuffing. Just going to kind of mix that in. And then I'm going to go ahead and dump in this chorizo so that we can get that flavor popping. And then we're going to throw in some chicken stock to get it nice and wet and to get it some another layer of flavor. I love chorizo, y'all. It smells so good in here. Whew.
Don't rub it in.
It smells delicious. It smells delicious.
Let me ask you this. If you're not a pork person, what would be a good alternative for this dish? Maybe would a turkey ground be something
Yeah, you
could
could even
replace
do
it?
like a ground chicken or a ground turkey. You just want to make sure that you season it really well. So if you want it to still have that kind of spicy chorizo-y type of vibe, you can use seasonings like cumin. You can use seasonings like annatto, smoked paprika, fennel, things like that that will give you that depth of flavor that you get with chorizo. Uh-oh.
Cool.
Spit a
I mean,
little
I
bit.
eat pork, but some of the saints don't eat pork.
Yeah, they not here for it. So I am going to take a little bit of my handy dandy hues of red spice. You can
Tell
get
us
this.
about your red spices.
Yeah, so this is a all-purpose spice that has a ton of things in it. But it gives you it's a little bit smoky, but it's something that you can use on meats, you can use it on vegetables, you can use it on pretty much anything, and it's definitely going to elevate your flavors. So I love it. So
I
what you
can't
can
wait to
see now,
try
you
it.
see we got everything nice and mixed, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop in my parsley and
Over here.
the sage. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up some of this apple so we can get that on here.
So for using fresh spices and herbs, a lot of us are getting into that now, but some of us don't know quite how to use it. So what advice would either of you have for, using fresh herbs and spices?
My advice would be to just you're not gonna know until you try it. I feel like cooking is one of those things you have to try. You have to try in order for you to know if it's something that you like or not.
If you're following a recipe and it says to use dried spices and say you have fresh in the cabinet, the equivalents aren't always the same because it's more potent when it's fresher. So I would say keep that in mind. Also do it in increments because I'd hate for you to chop up a whole thing of rosemary and then that's all you taste in your dish.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
I think the best way is to just throw a little bit on top. Parsley is kind of mild, so that's always a good one to start with. Rosemary, sage, oregano, those are great with meats. So if you cook with them, like say you roast them, that kind of pulls out their flavor a little bit. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I like working with fresh herbs because I just think they add a lot of freshness to the dish overall. And also you can kind of like bloom them if depending on the way that you cook them, and you can bring out more flavor with fresh spices. So all right, I am just about finished chopping up these apples, and then we're going to throw some stock in. And then this will be ready to go into the oven.
Okay, so when we bake the apples, what does the consistency turn to? What do we get?
So that's a great question. The reason I'm using Granny Smith's is because they hold up really well baking. They're not going to fall apart. They're not going to become mushy and like applesauce like.
Right.
So understanding what kind of apples to use is definitely important. Even when you're making like a an apple pie or something like that, you don't want to use like a red delicious apple because they don't hold up well in a situation where they're being baked. So just do like a quick Google search on best baking apples and it'll give you a whole list of ones to use. So I'm just gonna keep on pouring in chicken stock until it becomes the consistency that I want. I don't like mushy stuffing. I like for it to have a little bit of structure and texture to it. But I also don't want it to be dry. So the chicken stock definitely gives it some flavor, and it constitutes that stovetop that we put in here. So I'm just gonna keep on pouring until I like it. And one of the things about cooking, Davina, I'm sure you could speak to this too, is it's a really like a feeling type of thing. So even if I'm following a recipe, it really for me is about like taste testing and getting it to the consistency that I like. So I'll use a recipe as a guide, but
Sure.
ultimately I kind of still end up doing my own thing.
Yeah, there was a meme that said, black women don't follow recipes. We sprinkle until our ancestor says that's enough.
It's up my nothing. I think also the more you do it, it you just kind of know. So I get a lot of questions about like, how do you know how to season? And I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know. It's just a feeling. It's just this feels like enough.
And you gotta taste your food.
Taste as you go, but not the raw chicken.
Not the raw
Right.
chicken.
Let's not do that part.
Please don't taste the raw chicken. I know a big part of it for me too has to do with smell. That sounds so weird, but I can smell when the seasoning is like not quite right.
Yeah.
You know how you walk into a house, you want it to smell like something is cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you can look at it. Like I can tell that's gonna be bomb. I have been
It looks so good.
I am going to be taking this.
So here
that
it
looks
is.
delicious.
And we're just gonna pop it in the oven and let that cook, honey, for about a good 20 minutes or so. And this is one of those dishes that when we were talking earlier about like time saving tips, this is one of those things you can make ahead of time, put it in the freezer, and then pull it out and just heat it up in the oven. On Thanksgiving Day or whatever.
So you have to send me some. If it freezes well, that means you can freeze some and send it to New Orleans.
I got you, sis. All right, so I have another side that I'm gonna do real quick. I know I'm over my time, but I definitely want to share this with y'all. It's really easy, doesn't take a whole lot to make. It is a sweet potato casserole based off of what they carry at the good old Ruth Chris. If you have never been to Ruth Chris, let me tell you something. If you ever get a chance to go, you have to get the sweet potato casserole. It's so delicious. So I'm going to bring over some ingredients that we're going to use for this. I'm just going to mix up everything. And then I will, I actually do have a swap out for this, so I will show y'all what that looks like. But what I have is some sweet potatoes that I boiled. I'm going to pour in some heavy cream.
So you already boiled the sweet potatoes?
Yes, and listen, I know people be out here using Bruce's sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving and all that, but I am definitely more of a let's make it from scratch, because you can really control the sugar and the flavors and stuff that you're doing. So I like that. So I got cream, I got brown sugar. I'm using my brown and gold blend, which is a cinnamon sugar blend. It has turbinado sugar, allspice, vanilla.
I need these spices in my life.
Yeah, it has a bunch of stuff in there. So we're going to use that. I'm also going to put a pinch of salt because salt helps bring out some of the sweetness. I'm going to use a little bit of syrup.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just going to mash this up. And with this, I actually want it to be not like super smooth. I want it to have like, you know how for a sweet potato pie, you want it to be smooth. You don't want it to have chunks of sweet potato in it. With this, I want it to be smooth with a little chunk.
Okay, so some texture.
Yeah, a little texture to it. And then lastly, I'm going to add an egg and a little bit of flour. And that's just going to help with the binding. And then we're almost done with this. This just goes in the oven. And I'm going to show y'all. I made a little mini version of this, so y'all don't have to wait for it to cook.
Cool. So this is a Ruth Chris dish. And a lot of times we're intimidated, to try restaurant recipes. should we just take it on? I mean, if we have the recipe, go for it, right?
Absolutely.
That's the only way you're gonna know. I mean, I don't know if I can speak for Shana, but I know for me, behind every great dish is 14 burned ones or 14 ones that are too salty. So it's like I don't know anybody that was a great chef, a great home cook. Like you work at it, and then after a while, you can kind of do your own variations, and it's like, okay, I like what they did here with the sage. Maybe I want to do this instead, or incorporate this, and then you kind of just learn as you go. So
Sure.
definitely.
Got some butter. And if you would like to get these recipes for what I'm making, I'm actually going to be sending it out to everybody who's part of my supper club, which is a fancy word for my email list. I'll be sending it out this week. So you can definitely join the supper club if this is a recipe that you want to get.
How do we join the supper club?
You can go to my website, www.faithfair.co, no M. And there is a tab that says Supper Club. You hit that, and it will take you to a sign-up sheet. Do that, and you'll start getting recipes and all that good stuff from me. Also, the Supper Club finds out my drop dates for the blends first, and they get special coupon codes that other folks don't get. So,
Well, that sounds good.
yeah. So I'm just pouring this in, and then you will top this with a crumble that is made out of flour, sugar, butter, and some pecans. And you just pop it into the oven. But to save time, I'm just going to go ahead. Here's what it looks like. Okay.
So
I'm
good.
going to go ahead and show y'all. Here's my little mini version. Here's what it looks like when it comes out. And it has this delicious, you can see the little pecan. So
You know
good.
what? Don't rub it in.
So bomb. And then by the time Davina finishes up with hers, I'll be able to show you all the finished product of the stuffing.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Chef Shana, for burning on Churchy Chats. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Chef Davina and her dish. Stay tuned. All right, Chef Davina, you are up.
Okay, so it's always like difficult to do this from like I'm gonna do chicken marsala. It's not necessarily holiday, but it's something that you can easily whip together if you've got people coming over. I think the holidays are the time of year where you constantly have guests coming in and out, and so you don't want to necessarily like serve the Thanksgiving before Thanksgiving, but you still need to serve.
Right.
So chicken marsala is something that's just super, super easy to do. So I've got a what's this thing called? A pan on medium high heat, and I just put some oil down. And then I've got my chicken here. So you're gonna want to take chicken breasts that are kind of already cut thin-wise. Back in the day, they didn't used to sell. Let me wash my hands. They didn't used to sell chicken breasts like this, but they do now. So that also helps save time. If you can't find it like that, then you can just take chicken breast and like slice it yourself. So we have that chicken breast. And while my pan is getting hot, I'm gonna go ahead and season it with some fresh cracked. Can y'all see that? You can. Some fresh cracked black pepper. And season both sides, not just one. I don't feel like I have to say that, but you know, sometimes people are like, "Oh, we're just gonna season a little bit." So fresh cracked black pepper, salt, and then I'm going to use some herbes de Provence. It sounds intimidating. It's not. It's just like a I don't even want to say it's just a poultry blend. It's like, let's see what's in here. Hold on. Thyme, margarine, savory, rosemary, basil, sage, and lavender. So this is great for like rustic flavors. You can find this at any grocery store. It definitely gives you, I want to say it gives you like New England vibes. Like I feel like this was made in Boston. I don't know. Probably not. So season both sides while that's getting hot. Of course, when you're cooking with chicken, kind of want to be a little bit safer than kind of what I'm being right now. So don't do what I'm exactly doing, but try to keep your hands free. So like this is my chicken hand, so I'm not really touching anything else. So season this really quickly. I can do the pepper in a little bit, but gonna go ahead and throw it. Oh, no, I'm not. Wash my hands one more time.
Davina, how long have you been cooking?
You said what?
How long have you been cooking?
I have been cooking probably as long as I can stand, but this recent season, I have been cooking, I would say probably about 6 or 7 years, if not more. Forgot the most crucial part, which is the flour. So this is what's going to help us kind of build our gravy, in a sense, with the marsala. So I just have some flour in another pan or another plate. And I'm going to lightly coat it. And then I'm going to put it in
the pan. So Davina, explain to us, for those who are not familiar with chicken marsala, what is the dish?
Chicken marsala it's like a wine dish. So marsala is a wine. So for my saints that don't drink, it's more or less a cooking wine.
Yes.
That you're going to get drunk off of. The alcohol will tip off, but it's going to create a gravy in the pan. So it's kind of like a sauce. That's the best way that I can describe it. So, washing my hands yet again.
That's how it be with the chicken.
Yes.
Normally I have gloves, but obviously with COVID and everything else in the world, gloves are in short supply these days.
Yes, they are.
So, I think also with holiday cooking, it's helpful to just kind of cook and clean as you go. So,
that's a big tip.
Yeah, that's excellent advice.
And all of that. So, while that's cooking, you'll see that I only put 3 in because I don't want to overcrowd my pan. You want all the chicken to have a great surface to kind of get a nice crust. So had I put this 4th one in there, it would have been too crowded.
Yeah, a lot of the times we'll overcrowd our pans because we're trying to get everything cooked, but then everything is not even and as good as it could be.
Or it's like you don't get the crust that you want. You don't get the crust that you want, and it actually will take you longer to cook it. So
no, that's something that most people don't know.
Also, another thing with chicken that I think a lot of people don't really think about is that when you're cooking, in order for a crust to develop, it needs to kind of sit on the pan for a little bit. So a lot of times people like go in and they want to move it around. And so a good indicator to know when your chicken is ready to flip is if it will release itself easily. So you see how mine is just kind of sliding around? That means I can't see that. You see how it's just sliding around? I can move it now. I can flip it. But if it was still resisting, you don't want to flip it.
That's a great tip. And I see that you're using tongs. Now, we use tongs in our house because we don't want to poke our meat, right? But some people don't really know that. So talk to us about not necessarily using forks and sharp objects and what it can do to our succulent meat.
Yes, you poke it, you lose all the juices and all the juiciness and things like that. So the best tongs to use are metal ones. These are plastic.